So now that we're quarantined at home, what kind of changes have you had to make to your cooking, to your shopping, and just the overall logistics of eating? Because I didn't realize that is, one of the biggest changes that we've had to make. So, like, what changes have you had to make, and what are some key things that you've gotten, key ingredients that have been total lifesavers for you during this
Oh, yeah.
lockdown?
So sorry. Before we do that, and I will answer that, there is one more person who actually just popped in my head
Oh
of
yeah, yeah.
somebody. Yeah. Somebody who popped in my head of somebody who will, essentially change things. I had the pleasure of interviewing and meeting Jasmine Cho,
Hmm.
who basically she does cookie activism. So she is using cookies as a way to kind of basically educate people on the AAPI community and the history of the AAPI community. She
Hmm.
actually sent me this after I interviewed her.
Oh
So
my
that's
god,
and
that is so cool.
so she does cookie portraits, and that it's going to be, and to go into another thing you said of how we're taking care of ourselves. I'll be honest, like I see how proactive she's being all the time.
Hmm.
And it makes you kind of be like, am I falling behind? Like, am I not,
Oh
it's
yeah.
kind of like, man, like, boy, do I feel like I'm not doing something because your heart and your head got to be in the same place. And
Yeah.
if it's not the same for everybody. And
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
spoke to her, then I realized, like, no, she actually hasn't really. She's kind of taking it all in. And she's like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm just posting things. Like, she is taking this in her process as well. So just
Mm.
it may look like we're all being,
Very
it's
true.
like,
Very true.
and a lot of us are. At the same time, I was like, take the time. If your heart's not in it, how are you going to make good work?
Yeah.
Basically, that's pretty much it. But ingredients. So like everybody, I've been making a lot of bread. And it's one of those things. Luckily, I have a student who loved to bake, but his brother was allergic to eggs, and therefore I had yeast already in my possession. Where
Hmm.
it's so crazy that this is just something we all can't get our hands on anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and flour, and it's one of those things that, yeah, I've made that, but grocery shopping now, yeah, it's become, what used to be take 20 minutes
Hmm.
is now taking an hour if you are lucky.
Hmm.
And so my husband was nice enough to do it by himself yesterday while I was talking to somebody on FaceTime, and and a family member. And I was just kind of like, it's one of those things where we were on two commentaries I can make on that. One is that, yeah, it's your heart goes out to these wonderful people who are kind of keeping us all in line, quite
Hmm.
literally. But they're there and they're working 18-hour days, and we have to be merciful. Do not be a dick and
Yep.
basically to go faster, or you don't have this, or you don't have that. Dude, I saw they didn't have butter for weeks in my supermarket.
Hmm.
And I was just like, you know what? I was like, he's like, the guy looked at me, he's like, what do you need? I was like, butter, and you guys don't have it. And he's like, yeah, sorry, it's like just something we can't get our hands on. I said, it's
Hmm.
okay. And I made a joke. I was like, I'll just make it at home. I was like, I'll shake it up. And it was just one of those things where I was like, be merciful. They're not trying
Yeah.
to make their lives hell. They're just
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
do the best they can. And they're needing to be here. And you should be very appreciative. So we always remember to say thanks, and we always try to, do what we can. Um, but trying to get fresh vegetables for a time in the beginning was really tough. And then now it's becoming a little easier. But this also goes in conjunction with the other day, my husband and I were at H-mart near us. And so we know he had said something online while we were there.
Hmm.
Uh, we don't look at our phones when we're online. We talk to each other. We play games. It's something I've kind of required of us
Hmm.
because like we do this way too often now. Like,
Hmm.
let's
Hmm.
talk to each other. And so we were talking, and he said to me, he goes, this is the first time in weeks I've actually felt safe. And I
Wow.
was like, what do you mean by that? And he goes, he's like, yeah, nobody's staring at us. No one's giving us the dirty eyeball. No one's trying to, look at us, be like, why isn't your mask on? Our masks were on. But
Hmm.
it was just like, for once, I know if people are looking at us, they're not looking at us, they're looking at the food. So it's, and that if we saw somebody in the market giving us, any sort of look, we're like, this is our turf. If you want it, that kind of thing. I was like, this is
Yeah.
h-mart. If you don't like h-mart, you don't like Asian people, you should probably go someplace else.
Yeah.
And it was kind of one of those things that there are the times we grumbled about going to, the supermarket on like a busy Saturday, but it's now something almost like, let's just do it because we need to.
Hmm.
We try not to go that often, but the things that you kind of need to gather in there are sometimes the things you can't get.
Yeah.
But every little bit that we've been trying to stretch out, obviously, we finally got rice yesterday for the first time in weeks. And so we know to stretch it out with the rice, with the meat that we have. And I've been ordering from, the awesome vendors that are local who kind of need the help.
Hmm.
Um, trying to get some fish, freeze it in the freezer. Like, you learn a lot from your parents of how to basically like stretch everything
Oh
out. That,
yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that
Like that
value the
instinct kicks in.
hell yeah. And like, there was an article that came out that was praising like, Asian people are ready for the apocalypse and here's why. And I was talking about that with my sister and our friend, and they were like, no, it's true. Like, there was a reason why, like, we always laughed at them, but when they like stocked up on bargains, but it's like, hey, they're ready. And we
Hmm.
were. No, we were, but it was because we had a different household. Like, that was what I did for a living. Of
Yeah.
course, I had, some dried stuff and canned stuff around, but it was the fresh stuff, yeah, that we couldn't get our hands on a lot of it. And if we did, we were very happy to have it. But then we noticed in New York City, of course, a lot of the children in New York City public schools depend on those meals basically for the day.
Wow.
So they didn't close down quite as quickly as one would have anticipated. And so, but I basically threw it out there and I said, we have a lot of pasta and we have a lot of, we have things that we can make for people,
Hmm.
and it's gonna, sure, we've got to kind of figure this out, but we can figure it out.
Hmm.
So I basically put the message out there. I was like, if you have a family of who needs food, please let me know. It can be anonymous completely. We'll just, we'll give it to them. It's fine.
Yeah.
Sure. One person emailed me or messaged me and said, there's somebody in my building. They're just not sure how they're going to get through this week. So I said, it's okay. Like, I had just made pasta for us. And so I said, this is not a problem. I just, put it in a few containers and just said, you know what, just tell me where to drop it off. And so again, it's like, carbs obviously can stretch out, beans can stretch out.
Hmm.
I've noticed a lot of people are taking on the scallion pancakes, which of course is just what? It's flour, water, scallion,
Hmm.
and just keeping it simple. It's like, I marvel at people who can make so much with so little, but I also marvel at the people who, in an opposite kind of marvel, are like still managing to make glorious, luxurious food.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, no offense, where'd you get that from? But you kind of just, it's the kinds of things that unfortunately are just not helpful right now to even think about. So it's like, we just got to get through this. Like, so, those are the things that I've been using and essentially like trying to teach everybody or even trying to tell people how to use their leftovers. Just,
Hmm.
I'm sure, but a lot of people are getting sick of cooking. Not myself, but I've heard it very, very, very widely. They're like, I'm getting so sick of cooking. I'm like, it's okay. You're going to be fine. Like, we're going to get through this. But yeah, it's just something we're all just going to have to do for now. So, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised how, well, not too surprised, with the whole lockdown and not being able to get as many ingredients. We have been able to rely on some restaurants that are doing like grocery boxes, which is awesome. I love that there are more places that are being flexible and trying to help out families. But luckily, it's like there's so much to Asian cuisines that are that rely on like canned goods and things that are prepackaged and things that you can get on Amazon. So it's like it's so convenient. It's like, oh, cool. I have no problem eating spam and Vienna sausage. Like, cool. I love that shit.